Today is 11 March 2016, and some good news. Got the tank loose, at least what's left of it. As a friend of mine says, you can come out in piece or come out in pieces, so I went with the pieces, mainly because I really didn't want to cut this floor up just to get that tank out. So I took pieces of the tank out. Then I just cut a hole right there for the straps right here. So like last time, but with less surface holding the tank in place. It didn't take long for that to pop up. It wasn't like a sharp pop, it just kind of eased itself out of there. But, you know, right now everything's a mess. I just had a whole bunch of the fiberglass bulkhead and the tank pieces here, but I cleaned that out. Put that right here. So I'll get to that in a moment. So to get the tank out, I cleaned out the lazarette, which is there on the other end. And my plan is to get down there, grab that end of the tank, try lifting it up this way or towards the back of it, and then with less space on the top of the tank here, should give plenty of clearance to bring it out into the cabin and then out of the companionway. But the thing is, maybe here you can kind of see there's actually quite a bit of water down here. So I'm going to have to dump a lot of that water into the bilge so I can clean that up so it doesn't drip all over the place. Although the boat does need a lot of cleaning. It's a mess, but soon be able to see more of the size of the tank. Once I get the tank out, then I'll show what I found on the pieces. So today is a very exciting day. I actually started cheering when the tank came loose and I was able to move it forward a few inches there. So on to the next step. Right now I'm in the lazarette, which is not a whole lot of space for a guy my size, but here's the first look on the side of the tank. Not very pleasant looking. I can tell there's a lot of low spots. So just had to wait for the fluids to drain out, so I'm gonna go back into the cabin and get the tank out. Okay, tank is mostly up. I had to do a little bit more cutting here and bent this forward part back a little to clear the lip that's down here. But it's out. But one of the things I wanted to point out is look at the thickness here. It might be hard. Let me try turning the light off. Right now I got the heat lamp here. This right here is about normal thickness. It's about 1/8 of an inch, or at least normal to what this tank is. Not sure how easy that would be. Either way, you can kind of see the thickness right in there. But then also look at the thickness over here. You can kind of see where it's at. Hopefully you can see it, but this right here is very thin. Maybe you can see that right there. There. You can see how thin that is right there. That was a really thin spot. Then you can see how it gets a little thicker as it goes back. Same with this right here. There, actually you can see the comparison between my fingers right there it is right here. But I'll show more of that with the side pieces once this is out. Well, got the tank out and on the back of the truck. So let me see if I can get up in here and show again the thickness stuff. Okay, so here you can see the thickness. That's about 1/8 of an inch. And on this side, you can see right here how thin that is. I can just bend that. It didn't corrode through, I'm just bending that myself. But let's see, what else is there? Well, the big thing that stuck out right here, hole. So that went all the way through. And then there's another one that's up high. It's right here. There's actually quite a few low spots, but you know, the hole up there, this hole right here, this thin spot right here is probably the worst parts of it. At least that part. Here's the upper part of the tank that I cut out before, but there's a real low spot here. This was pretty low. The thin part, that's the thin part right here. So you can kind of see how that was eaten away. Let's see. I think there's a spot right there. Another low spot here. And further back to where the baffle was at. Probably should be wearing gloves, but I mean, you can kind of see, put in the light. See little circular parts here. This, you can actually tell that right there is a really low spot. That looks like it had almost eaten through. There's another one right here. Another there and there. So aside from those two holes, I mean, this tank was still an accident waiting to happen anyway. Then, for the port side of the tank, it's not as bad actually. I mean, there's a couple low spots like this right here on the top, and some of this is just a really old foam, but for the most part this side wasn't as bad. But there's a lot of low spots just all over the top right here. So when the fiberglass, or not the fiberglass, the resin holding the tank at the top started to fail, you can tell any water just sat right there. Another really low spot right there. And let me see. Let's get to the rest of the side. So this looks like a really thin spot right there. Now, for the most part, you know, cuts like this, trying to cut it out, but it's not so bad. This right here is probably the worst part of it, right back here. That is really low. Some low spots on the very bottom. Port side of the tank wasn't so bad. A lot of it was the starboard side. But it's out, and time to clean up the engine space, or the keel space, and get it ready for what's coming next. And I talked to a guy who works here at the marina. He said there's a guy who comes for scrap metal once in a while, so I'm going to leave this by the tank by the boat, and whenever the scrap guy comes by, he's going to haul this off and dispose of it for me. So that's where I'm at now. And real quick, showing the keel area. So down here, this was where the bilge was at, and then the foam area was the fuel tank. And got a lot of water in there that needs to be cleaned out right now. There's supposed to be a bolt back here somewhere. And I can't really see it too well on the camera, but kind of hard to tell, but I think it's right in there. Way back in the back of where the tank sits in there, there's a bolt. One of the bolts used to hold the rudder in place. And sometimes that has been a spot where water or fuel will leak in or out of the boat. But I got a lot of foam to clean up, the water, a lot of dust and dirt and grime, so a lot of prep work to do in the meantime. Just wanted to show real quick on here that the foam right here, a lot of this wants to come out in one piece. Probably good, but I have to cut some of it out into smaller pieces maybe. But there's a couple spots or a couple pieces that I cut out just to show just how thick some of this stuff is. And this stuff is like still very hard. And then there's some stuff like this right here. I'm actually not sure if that is foam, but that is just mush. Very soft paste-like mush. See where some spots started to peel apart on its own. And this one here. These two pieces were near the front part of the tank. That was right here. It attached right to where this part is at here on the side. But it was this whole piece right here. But the rest of it wants to try to come off as a whole, but it'll take some cleaning up, but it's getting there. I soaked up a lot of the water. I mean, it's still pretty wet down there, but put a lot of water in this 5-gallon bucket with that sponge. I mean, you can see everything else here is just a big mess. Also, if you don't have one of these masks, I'd say get one. That thing is really nice, especially if you're doing a lot of cutting, but it's supposed to be good for painting and just about anything you want to do where there's a lot of dust in the air. Also got these for headphones for hearing protection. That stuff is great, especially when using some of these power tools. Got the angle grinder here, got the oscillating tool, got the Dremel. So protect your hearing, protect your eyes. You'll be good. Here's a big pile of foam. I hate foam, especially this foam, because this is what was holding onto the tank down here in the keel. Here is the keel, mostly cleaned out of debris. Well, maybe not, but at least most of the water's out. Still a lot of debris, and at least here in the back section, got most of the foam out. Got lucky that on the bottom It was a layer of foam, probably about an inch, half inch to an inch thick. I was able to pry some of that up and get most of that out. There's a little remnant right there. But still a bunch of stuff back here. It is not easy working in this small space, and especially when there's really nothing to hold on to or lay on or anything, but it's getting there. Got a little bit of foam right there also on right there. That's kind of a little difficult to get to, but it's getting there. I'm taking a break today, and going to try doing some more of this next time, but I really need to vacuum or clean out everything, because a lot of dirt and dust there in the corner, up here. There's just stuff everywhere. But I'm very happy today. I got the fuel tank out and most of the foam out, which is more than I had expected. But you can see some of this. I mean, it's really not that thick, but it is so hard it might as well be a piece of wood. And then other stuff is a little thicker, but still hard. I just wanted to show that. And this should be a pretty good sized video. Now time to put the rest of this back into the lazarette and clean up and head back to the house.